tech news. There have been some massive Intel high-end desktop price cuts. Well, these products aren't out yet, but they're going to be out soon. I'll get into that here. So every time I say HEDT, it stands for high-end desktop. That's what that
Okay.
stands for. All right. So we're looking at I'll just start from the beginning. Okay, so we've been saying that there's been a delayed reaction with Intel stepping up their game ever since Ryzen challenged and changed everything in 2017. We went from a stagnant mainstream market dominated by Intel, locked at 4 cores with more expensive 6-core HEDT counterparts, to the core standard of our current, PC evolution that we've been seeing. Okay, so AMD was out of the picture in the competitive CPU front for years until they started offering 6-core, 12-thread CPUs in the $200 price range. Coffee Lake, Intel's 8th generation, released in fall 2017, did step up to match the new 6-core standard while maintaining an IPC, or instructions per cycle superiority, which could still justify a price premium. Because just to say, as soon as Intel's 8th gen came out, they were just flying off the fucking shelves. Like, they were just not in stock.
Yeah, people were actually complaining about them being a paper tiger launch. Basically, like they launched, but they in no way, shape, or form had enough stock to justify launching.
Okay, so that Intel premium fee has continued to be a factor from the sub $200 price range to the $1,000 plus price range. With AMD's Ryzen Zen 2, the 3000 series, name for that, Intel has lost its undisputed IPC advantage since July this year. It's taken another 3 months for the slow poke to retaliate in the next most significant way possible. The big news this week is that their bloated prices will finally be coming in line to meet the threat AMD's Threadripper class CPUs pose. Intel's 10th generation Cascade Lake X will be seeing up to around a 50% price cut versus what they currently have out now. Okay, so let me just run down some of the price differences. Okay, so right now, their 9th gen, their Skylake X, they have an 18-core, 36-thread CPU, and its MSRP is it's almost $2,000. It's $1,979. I'm looking at that, and it's just like, yeah, that's a pretty big freaking number, right? Okay, so that's what the 9th gen is. And for the 10th gen, when these come out in a couple months, it's going to be better in every way. IPC is going to be a little better, all that. There's going to be some other features to the platform, too, some compatibility. I think I'll get into that in a bit, too. But they're going from almost $2,000 to, yeah, okay.
Basically, they're knocking $1,000 off the price.
Yes. 1979 to, that's a year. Okay, 1979 to 979. Like, actually $1,000 off of their highest freaking CPU in this market here, right?
In this context, yes.
Okay, then for 14-core 28-thread, we're going from 1387 to 784, and we're going from another one. Okay, 12-core, we're going from 1189 to 689, and for their 10-core, 989 to 590. Okay,
is this for funsies or some kind of event they're doing, or?
Oh no, this is like a permanent price cut of essentially. The thing is, we're calling it a price cut here, the thing, it's a price difference from what they currently have out now. So when they release the new generation of Intel,
They're going to be
CPU,
better, faster, stronger, but at half
and
the
half
cost.
and at half the cost. So that is like a triple, quadruple, freaking super whammy. Like of, and this is. I'm calling Intel. Intel's a slowpoke because they should have done this like earlier. It took them. Rise.
Yeah, they're being slow, but they're finally acknowledging AMD as a credible threat, especially since when are these processors going to be out?
Looking at here. October. Actually, some in October.
So
Okay.
by the end of this month. So this is their preemptive strike, basically, to be against AMD's upcoming Threadripper reveal and release, which is rumored to be happening this November, as well as the release of Intel's AM4 socket Ryzen 9 3950X. So keep that in mind. Like, so these are in pre-retaliation, I guess you could call it. So I'm curious as to how AMD is going to be pricing their Ryzen 2 Threadrippers. Because
yeah, so as Zach mentioned, AMD is going to be releasing their third generation Threadrippers, the Zen 2 Threadrippers in November, and Cascade Lake X, which is this massive price decreased next gen for Intel. These are launching October 7th. Okay, when I wrote this, it was more like a week away, and now it's like going to happen in like 2 days or something. This is like pretty imminent here, like when this is going to happen.
It's going to be,
and the thing is,
it's Tuesday.
These, and just to say, if we thought
it's Monday.
If we thought that Coffee Lake was hard to get, I think these Intel processors, there's a very strong chance there's going to be so much excitement for these, even though these are not mainstream processors. They're so damn expensive. That really shows a lot. But I wouldn't be surprised if these things are selling out and you wouldn't be able to get them at MSR. Wow. I would not be surprised whatsoever.
Oh, I mean, you haven't been able to get the Ryzen 9 you haven't been able to get the Ryzen 9s like at all since they launched. Like they're constantly sold out. You can buy them from third-party sellers for like anywhere between $700 and $900 on like Amazon and eBay. Like legit, like that's how bad it has gotten for the Ryzen 9 family.
So there is totally a market for these expensive CPUs, and like they're going out of stock.
Yeah,
right? That's amazing to me, seeing that. And it's funny how you can see like these price cuts for what I would call like, mainstream budget or best bang for the buck CPUs, and like you see like processors that are like $200, they'll get discounted, $30 or $40 around sometimes, and they're just available. Okay, they are available, they get discounted. Meanwhile, the CPUs that are like over $500, I think maybe they're making less of them, but there is a customer base with a lot of money to burn,
and
that are just snatching these things up.
Yeah, like legit, because like I've said, like the Ryzen 9 processors have more or less been sold out since they launched. Like, and I even have like notifications on my phone for when they get back in stock for like Newegg and stuff like that. And I look like so I get the notification. I don't notice it. I notice it like an hour later, and I go to Newegg to check it out, and they're already sold out again.
Wow.
Like
And I think part of
it's
this,
insane.
it's definitely there's I think a lot of people buying these, they're not even buying them to use them. They're just a lot of them are scummy resellers because the bigger ticket an item is and the more scarcity there is of it, the more opportunity to upsell it somewhere else. That's something that's totally happening.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Let me read the last paragraph. So what does this mean for mainstream users geared towards PCs with 6 and 8 cores? We see no sign of a related price cut for mainstream Intel CPUs below or around $500 yet.
Keyword
The,
there's yet.
yeah. Okay, so the line between their 8-core and 16-thread i9 9900K or the KS for about $500 has never been so close to their upcoming 10-core 20-thread HEDT counterpart starting at 590. So basically, like, considered the best gaming CPU you can get right now, the i9 9900K, that's like the highest end mainstream Intel CPU processor. It's the best like all rounder. It's the best for gaming. You get like the 5 gigahertz clock speed and shit with this, and the KS like right out of the box, you get like 5 gigahertz on like all the cores, I think, or more of them. It's kind of like the 9900 KS. They're like super cherry picked.
Yeah.
Of the previous ones. They're kind of like the best of the best. There are a lot of claims by people that are like expert overclockers that like these are like the same damn things. There's no difference, but there's kind of a presumption that they're cherry picked better and just out of the box they will just work better. Period. Right? So these things, these i9 9900Ks and the KS, these are like $500 processors, and now we have like 10 core processors for 590, right? So it's like less than $100 to go up another tier into the HEDT pricing segment. The thing is, the HEDT ones, they don't clock as high, right? So they wouldn't be as good for gaming, but for anything else that uses all those cores, be better for that.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I could. Oh wait, I really need to finish this next part here. Okay, so the jump to the i9 10900X brings with it the added cost of a more expensive motherboard platform, which ultimately is the biggest separator between segments, because we're looking at a lot of these mainstream Intel processors that would motherboards that would support overclocking. They're probably, and I say probably because there is some range here. They're usually like 100 or $150 more or less. Some of them are even under 100. But when you get into HEDT motherboards, some of the because of like
You're going to
the
be
support,
paying a premium because again these
they're like
motherboards are for high-end desktops.
$300, $500. There's some that are like $700. And they do that because there's more PCI Express lanes, among other things, going on with those motherboards. So for most people that I'm talking to here, talking to you guys here, or anybody listening, the best buy is still 6-core AMD processors from past 2 years. The latest being the 3600. If the Intel 9900 follow up in the 10th gen of mainstream Intel desktop CPUs get a $100 price cut, things would heat up for those willing to spend under $400 for the best 8-core out there. So, I mean, if there was like some kind of whip effect where we're just seeing like the initial smack, and there might be like price cuts later, you know, that would be something if all of a sudden we saw like a battle between AMD and Intel to have like the best 8-core out there for $400 more or less. You know, that would be the next kind of logical step.
That would be
Of,
interesting. I doubt
of
we're
in
going to
of
see it. I doubt we're going to see it soon. But I mean, yeah, I was honestly surprised when I came across the news of the price drop for their high end cores. It came into my mailbox. Like, you remember my reaction when I shared it with the news group? Like, this was a holy shit moment in and of itself. Like,
yeah, so that would be the next step of Intel conceding to forced competition from AMD. I mean, the initial first concession was, okay, we're going to go from 4 cores to 6. We get it. You know, that was the first thing. But the thing is, as far as putting more cores on there, that takes time and years. They have to like plan ahead and shit. So with pricing,
AMD's still beating them out because now we have 16 cores on a normal socket.
with prices, they could just change prices whenever they want, at the risk of upsetting their shareholders and shit. It might be what's necessary.
Well, I mean, if they lower the price, yeah, they'll be making less per unit, but at the same time, they'll probably move more units. So they gotta weigh the pros and the cons of something like that.
Yeah, so I would really like to see these 8 cores, like basically what the 9900K is, if the next generation of their mainstream processors, you get like a processor like that for 400. Conceivably, they might do that.
Like you said, I doubt we're going to be seeing it this generation. It's might be possible they might drop the prices a little bit, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to see any large price drops, at least not as significant as this, for their mainstream processors this generation. They might drop it like 10, 15, maybe at most 20%, but I don't think we're going to see as deep of a cut as we're seeing here with their high-end desktop chips.
Yeah, they wouldn't. No, they absolutely. If we're suggesting, if anyone listening there, if we're suggesting that like the equivalent of like the 9900K for the next gen of Intel's mainstream processors, that they're going to get cut in half, it's like no, that's not going to freaking happen. But potentially drop 50 or $100. That would be more in line with what AMD has.
Mm-hmm.
That's what AMD prices are. They're like 50 or $100 less than what Intel has for similar or better performance now, because Ryzen 3000 has better IPC.
All right, so, let's move away from
yeah.
processors and into hacking.
Okay, so ex-Yahoo engineer pleads guilty to hacking. What a fucking creep. Okay. What a fucking creep. Okay.
Subtitle, what a creep.
What a creep. Okay, so we all worry about getting viruses or malware from time to time. Maybe we even worry about getting hacked occasionally as well. Most of the time, though, we think, who would want to hack me and why? Sometimes it is just plain lust that drives a hacker to break into people's personal accounts, and sometimes that hacker works for the company you trusted to keep your data secure.
Oh, God.
I don't know about y'all, but
that's so scary.
This is Yahoo. People, I don't know, like, I've told you guys, like, over the past 10 years,
Yahoo's been broken, beaten, and left like, bloody in a ditch.
Like every Yahoo mail hacked, like every single one. Like it's like worse. It's like 1,000 times worse than like Sony. That Sony hack, man. Like the Yahoo hack. the Yahoo email. I'm like everyone that had a Yahoo email, like even if you made one like years ago and you haven't used it, that thing is you probably won't be able to access it if you tried. Probably it wouldn't be worth it. But it's Yahoo is like, I don't know, anybody trusting Yahoo for security, you know, they are very misinformed and they need to just like not use that. Okay. Okay, so Reyes Daniel Ruiz, 34, an ex-Yahoo engineer, confessed to using his company access to hack thousands of accounts. Why would Ruiz do this? Well, he was looking for nude photos and videos. Ruiz accessed internal systems and cracked passwords, according to a statement released by the U.S. Attorney's Office in California. He admitted to targeting accounts belonging to younger women and the accounts of his personal friends and work colleagues, even people he worked with. Jeez. Okay, so once he had gained access,
he's a real winner, isn't he?
So once he had gained access to their personal Yahoo accounts, he used them to break into their other accounts, such as Facebook, Gmail, iCloud, and Dropbox to look for more photos and videos. He did so by using the Yahoo account to request password resets so he could access the other sites. Now, I'm wondering, I don't know if it really gets into how he got busted in here, but I'm just thinking like, if you work for Yahoo and you're like raiding people's, hacking people's like emails and all that shit, getting access to you should not be doing that to people you work with, because the people you work with are going to find you out if you're like doing this shit to them. I mean, you work for the same damn company. They would have like the same like similar privileges probably while working for that company. So that's just like really stupid. This guy did that. He was doing that to coworkers. Come on. Okay, so Ruiz copied videos and photos for personal storage. There has been no word on if he was simply keeping the photos for his own carnal desires or if he planned on using them in more nefarious manners such as blackmail. Okay, so when Yahoo finally figured out there was some suspicious activity going on, Ruiz destroyed his hard drive, computer. He left his position at Yahoo in July. Ruiz was charged with wire communication, interception, computer intrusion. In his plea agreement, he was only required to plead guilty to intrusion. Ruiz was released on a $200,000 bond. He will be in court in February of 2020, and could be facing up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 fine. Okay, so while this all seems to come to a nice tidy end, one question remains. How did it take so long for Yahoo? How did it take so long for Yahoo to catch up to the employee who hacked into thousands of accounts? The full number of accounts hacked was reportedly around 6,000. Like, this guy hacked.
So he started small, and then it just exponential growth happened. Basically, is what it sounds like.
He was able to get away with hacking that many accounts over time by using his employer's access without being caught. Okay, so perhaps Yahoo will keep a closer eye on employees in the future. At least one would hope. Though we always believe ourselves secure, just remember there's always at least one weirdo out there trying to find a picture. Also, this was written by our writer at Nerd Nation, Ben Hercules. All right, so what I don't know. No one should be taking Yahoo seriously. Don't do any.
At least not at least not in 2019.
Yeah.
Yahoo's dead. Go somewhere else.
Go get a Gmail account, please.
Exactly,
do everybody a favor.
So you already have a Gmail. You should like move everything from Yahoo to Gmail and just like delete your Yahoo email. That's what you should do. I mean, according to this guy, he could like hack your Gmail if it was connected to Yahoo as like if Yahoo was like your secondary email.
If it was your backup, so like you could like
if they were linked, he could like get both of
you
them.
know how Gmail has like a backup account, backup email that they'll send your a password reset to if you can't access your Gmail. It's like that. Basically, like it's a bad idea. And so
Okay.
yeah, he was able to gain access to basically all your information because they're linked and stuff like that.
Okay, Zach. So, when did you get your graphics card? When did you get the Fat Boy? When did you get it?
A couple of weeks ago now.
Couple weeks ago.
I think it was like probably around the 20th of September.
Okay. Well, that plays in to what the next story is because AMD is rumored to launch the RX 5500 graphics card this month. So there's supposed to be a 5500 and probably a 5500 XT. These are like just working titles that people are speculating about because that is just what the pattern is right now for AMD GPUs. The RX 5500 series will be a budget to mid-range solution and will supposedly arrive on October 7th. So again, this is like we should be hearing something within the next 2 days about this, whether it's announced or if it's going to launch. And I don't know, when you get into some of these lower and kind of mid-range cards, if you get a reference model, I think it's less significant. When you're talking about the higher end ones that are like 400, bucks and shit, especially when it's AMD, they use a lot more electricity, or there's just a lot more stuff going on there. So it does benefit to have like a non-reference cooling solution on them. So yeah, I remember when I was covering like the 5700 and the 5700 XT, I was looking at these blowers and some of the coverage going on from other sources, and it just seemed like, yeah, you want to wait for the AIB partners to come out with their own
the non-reference cards with the fans and stuff on them.
Yeah,
which we're finally actually starting to see hit stores like eBay, Newegg, Amazon, and Best Buy online. All these stores are finally starting to get non-reference 5700 series cards in stock.
So. Hardware Unboxed, they say that they've done reviews on about 12 5700 XTs, which seems like overkill, but I would say that they would be like a very good source if you were actually going to see the comparisons between all of them. And I think what they said was the best 5700 non-reference card is the MSI Gaming X. I just remember that off the top of my head. That was like what they considered that's the best one. And another one is the I think it was the Sapphire Pulse. That might be one. Both of those are good. Okay, so what can we speculate about what the 5500 or the 5500X is going to be like? So we're looking at something that's probably going to be, judging by just how AMD has kind of priced stuff in before, there's probably going to be one for 200 and one's going to be 250. There's probably, it's going to be something like that, and it's going to be competing with the 1660 and the 1660 Ti. Okay. And for the 5500 XT, that's the better of these two. They're all most likely going to have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And for the non-XT, some will probably have 8 gigabytes, but others might only have 4, which might reduce prices even more on those. So we might see some of those going for $20 less, more or less. So that is going to be a thing to look forward to. It's going to be, we're going to want to see if like the price per the price, if the price to performance ratio is as good or better than what the 5700s offer, because those are predominantly like some of the best cards you can get. Of course, I always say like, oh, this year the RX 570, that's like the best, bang for the buck card, even though it looks like what the 5500 is going to do, it's going to make the RX 570 irrelevant, kind of irrelevant, because with this you're going to be looking at cards that are 50-70% better, more or less, for like an extra $80 over what a 570 typically is for, RX 570. And mind you, RX 570, these cards right now, this is maybe the most important thing I got to say. These cards that could be coming out or announced within the next couple of days, these are replacing the Polaris cards. These are like the real successor in that kind of price range.
No, they're the successor to my new graphics card, like the 590 and like the 580 series. So they're the next step up from that. Or
Yes.
actually, not even a step up. They're the next step forward. We're talking lateral as a vertical here. So.
Yep. Okay. So that's it about the AMD GPUs that could be coming out here soon. All right. So related, I want to say this right off the top because we got a net neutrality verdict that happened this week. Just this morning, I was downloading the Spyro, trilogy collection and the Crash Bandicoot trilogy collection there, because I got in on that Humble Monthly, right? I'm not going to skip that month. I already said it was like the best ones they've ever had, maybe the best. When I was downloading these games, I was looking at how fast my download speed was going, and usually I'm paying for 100 down, 10 up, and that would be equivalent to I'm paying for like 12 and a half megabytes a second. Okay, and maybe it kind of overflows, it kind of spills into 15 megabytes a second down, like that's kind of what my down speed has been since I want to say like 2013, 2014. That was like the last time I had a speed increase. And just to say, when that happened, there was some verdict in the news related to net neutrality back then, whatever that was, whatever the status quo new thing was. Well, this week there was some new news about net neutrality, and just this morning I noticed it for the first time, because the only time I ever really maximize my down speed is when I'm downloading a game off of Steam. That's the only time. Instead of getting like 12 megabytes down to 15 megabytes down, I was getting like 28 megabytes down, which I didn't get anything in the mail about this. I didn't get any notifications about it. Just what I do know is in my area, the price they had been offering like a hundred down, and then for like more money there was like a 400 down service. And now it seems like in my area they changed up where like the lowest now is 200, and then it goes to 400, and then they actually have like a 940 something, and I think to go up it's like an extra $20 for each performance tier. So it would go from like 45 to 65 to actually I think it was actually it goes $20 and then extra $30. Well, anyway, it's just like my internet just made a massive jump, and it has to be related to this. Okay, it has to be related to this, and I'll get into this. The net neutrality battle lives on. What you need to know about the appeals court decision. Okay, so a federal appeals court has upheld much of the FCC's net neutrality repeal, but it also said the agency can't prevent states from adopting their own rules. And right off the top, I gotta say this: if you live in a blue state, a more liberal state, you're gonna be better protected from corporations screwing you over on related to your internet service provider. There's going to be better regulations, or they're going to attempt to have better regulations to thwart monopolies and stuff.
So basically, what he's saying is a bulk of what you're going to be seeing is mainly the entire West Coast, like Washington, Oregon, California,
Vermont and New Jersey,
and yeah, and most of New England are going to be like probably passing their own net neutrality rules as a result of this ruling now. So
yes.
like New York, New Jersey, Vermont, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'd figure that they mention Vermont, New Jersey. They don't mention New York or Massachusetts, but they would probably be the next ones.
New York, absolutely, because it's this is actually one of those things that I actually like. I don't usually get involved with politics, but I like when the whole net neutrality thing came up about Ajit Pai, I think that's his name.
Ajit Pai.
Ajit Pai. When he tried to cut net neutrality, like this is one of those things where I actually sent a letter to my congressman, like
I did
hey,
too.
this is bullshit. This needs to stop. This needs to stop now. We need to fix this. And like I got a letter back from my congressman saying like I fully support net neutrality. Like this is something that like we need a open free internet and stuff like that. So like I know that at least in New York, the people that are a bit higher up do agree that a open free internet is better than one that's controlled and dominated by corporations.
Okay, so look, love it, love him or hate him. When Obama was president in his last term, there was some good net neutrality legislation that was passed, which would prevent your ISP from, you know what?
From screwing you hard.
Yeah, we say that, but it still happened. It still happens. There were some laws. The thing is, on the books, there's laws, but whether they're actually enforced by the different.
I can imagine if the companies had their say, it would be a lot worse than it is, though. So I mean, yeah, we complain about it and stuff like that, but if they had their way and if they could, I bet they would be charging us a lot more for a lot less speeds and stuff like that. But the reason why they keep on their toes is because of companies like Google doing their Google Fiber experiment, basically forcing Comcast and Time Warner to stay on their toes a little bit and up base speeds for consumers, because Google Fiber was offering one gigabyte per second speeds at literally a fraction of the cost of some of their actually like so I believe it was like $40 a month, like $40 to $60 a month for 1 gigabyte per second internet speed from Google Fiber, and it forced Comcast and Time Warner to be like, because they noticed like, oh hey, because at first when Google first announced that they were going to do Google Fiber, they were mocked. Like they were openly mocked by ISPs like Verizon, Comcast, and Spectrum, because they're like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants really fast internet. Like, what's the point? Nobody needs 1 gigabyte per second speeds and stuff like that. Okay. And then when they saw the numbers of subscription droppage in the areas Google Fiber actually rolled out, they're like, oh. And they actually started rolling out programs to counterbalance it. But the thing is though, like when like, okay, Comcast, and I'm going to be tearing Comcast a new asshole later when I get into a bit of a rant later. They launched their own internet speed, like 1 GB internet speed, but there was a catch. And again, this is one of the reasons I'm going to be ranting about them later, Comcast and their catches. So in order to get 1 GB internet speeds, you have to have somebody come out, do installs and stuff like that. You had to pay $200 to have somebody come out to your house and do a whole bunch of stuff to make sure your home is like ready and capable of the internet speeds that you'd be getting, and then you'd have to be renting a router capable of the speeds too for like another $60 a month. It's bullshit. Like they were charging out the ass. Oh, and by the way, it was like $100 a month, or it was like $150 a month for this. Their 1 TB speeds. Meanwhile, Google's over there charging like $60 a month for 1 GB a second speeds. And they're like, yeah, it's Google proved that people want it, and then Comcast's like, okay, you want it? You're gonna have to pay for it, bitch.
I had like, okay, I had a AT&T salesman try to sell me on Uverse, right? Their home internet service, and I was asking, okay, so what's the down speed, you're offering, and this was a long time ago. This was back in like 2011,
does AT&T even do internet anymore? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think they do. In my area, my home internet, I can either get
I think they bought another company or are owned by another company. Aren't they combined?
I feel like that sounds correct.
Aren't they? Isn't that why Time Warner changed to Spectrum, because like they either acquired or were acquired by AT&T?
Something like that, I think.
Okay, that's frightening to think that AT&T owns Spectrum too. Like, ooh. But just in my area, last time I checked, there's Spectrum and AT&T. Those are two different services. Years ago, I just remember the salesman trying to sell us.
Yeah, AT&T bought Time Warner for $85.4 billion in 2016.
But Spectrum is a separate...
Spectrum is Time Warner. Spectrum is a rebranded Time Warner.
Rebranded Time Warner. Well, I just remember the salesman. He was telling me the benefits of AT&T, Time Warner at the time, and God, I was asking about like, oh, do you have anything above what my speed currently was at the time? It was 20 megabits down. Do you have anything above 20 megabits? And I think he said something like, oh, you don't need anything above 20.
You can get right out, sir.
Yeah, and then also there were data caps with AT&T. So basically they tried to sell me a service that was kind of the same price, the same speed, but there were data caps. And, I was not interested. Kicked them out. Yeah. Something I've learned in life is any kind of solicitation to your door, just say no. Like, it's never good. It's never, ever, ever good.
I mean, if they're going door to door, they're obviously desperate. Well, it depends. I don't know. Like, I've actually done door to door sales before, but like not for that type of service. Like, who goes door to door selling internet?
Right.
Like, okay,
I was
people in a duopoly just trying to make people switch from Coke to Pepsi. That's what That's what happens there.
Hello, sir. Have you tried Pepsi today?
No, I'm a lifelong Coke drinker, and I don't know about switching to Pepsi. Really. It's because really, like I said, it's just there's just two companies out here where you can get your internet from. And when he said there were data caps, oh yeah, and then like some, it wasn't him, but someone else over the phone. They said, "Oh, the 100 gig data cap that's just for your email or something." It was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Who the fuck needs wait, what?
Someone said that the data cap was just for your email. So, like your if you have like a Gmail, you can have like 10 gigabytes of data stored in your Gmail, or
Yeah.
maybe more. So he said the 100 gigabytes of data cap, someone said it was related to your email or something. I was just, no, AT&T was like lying so hard in like every way, saying,
I will
"Oh, you
say
don't."
though, there are parts of the country, and I lived in it, where there is data caps on internet. And when I was living in Mississippi and had Comcast, like they had an unlimited data option. Like this is a legit thing. Like it added like $60 to your bill, but it prevented you from this is in Jackson, Mississippi, and so we had Comcast because it's literally the only fucking option in Jackson, Mississippi. Which I really, really hate, and I really want more options in places because, which is why we here at Nerd Nation are supporters of projects such as Starlink. So anyway, there's a legit data cap on your home internet, and if you go over, you get those overage charges. Trust me. So you can either set it to like instantly cut off internet service if you reach your limit, or you can set it to allow overages. I would definitely not recommend you allow overages because if you are using a home computer, that thing goes through it, that thing drinks internet. I will tell you that right now.
What I would kind of like if I was in a situation like that, okay, when you describe it getting cut,
Like,
do you mean like zero, or are we talking getting throttled down to like DSL?
No, like
speeds?
you have no internet.
I would like the idea of it getting throttled down to just being like 5 or 10.
Well, see, it's interesting that you say that because
that would be fair.
What service do you have for your phone? Because
it's Mint Mobile, which they piggyback on the T-Mobile.
Okay, so I have Verizon Wireless, and for the longest time, like if you ever went over your data cap, you'd get charged for it on mobile, and there was options in mobile to like turn same thing as the service that like the home internet service I was just talking about. Like you can either cut internet when you're out of data or allow overages. But for a few years now with Verizon, they have a thing called Safety Net, where that means there's no overages anymore, but your internet speed gets throttled hard. So
I'd rather get throttled hard in a contract transparently. I'd rather get throttled hard than just have my internet just cut off where I can't do shit. I mean, come on.
Oh well, I mean, you could do something like like if you brought up a browser and your internet was cut, it would bring up the Comcast page.
And it would tell you,
like you're out of internet. You're out of internet. But oh hey, we have an unlimited data option. If you would like to purchase that.
Here's probably a likely correlation. Places where
And I know that Jackson, Mississippi isn't the only place this exists, because it exists in a couple places across the United States where net neutrality isn't
it is beyond
common
pie
thing.
in the it is beyond pie in the sky in these places. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, I think places where it's more densely, if you live someplace that's more densely populated, it's more likely that your rent or your mortgage is going to be more expensive. The property values are more expensive in those areas, but also the internet is going to be better in those areas too. So if
Well,
you live
Jackson, Mississippi is the capital of Mississippi.
well, it's just a correlation there. But I would also just say, like, I don't know what like the median kind of rent price is there, but it's probably less than what it would be like in, Sacramento, California.
It was significantly cheaper than where it is. Like for what I'm paying for a single bedroom here, I had we were renting about a 2-bedroom townhouse in Mississippi. So yeah, the prices are definitely significant swing changes.
So I just think in places where property values are less, it's more likely you're going to get shafted, where you have to pay more for your internet. They're kind of related to just
That's such bullshit.
yeah. So it's like you can live someplace and like the rent, it looks like a good attractive price, but you gotta check what the fuck the internet situation is there too.
Always number one rule.
You gotta look at what the price for the property is, but then look at what the internet is, and then
what speeds they offer.
Internet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Look. Okay. Price for the place, then look at the internet, and then look at the schools. Okay, internet's more important than your children's education. Somehow it just is.
I mean, your children will be able to educate themselves better if you have a fast enough internet anyway.
Exactly. Internet is first.
I'm being a little facetious here, but I would still probably look at the internet before school in the area.
So we got sidetracked hardcore, but basically the net neutrality ruling states that they're upholding the dissolution of the net neutrality rules, but they said states can make their own rules. Some states are more likely to pass their own laws in regards to this than not.
Have any individual states commented yet as to their plans or wishes?
I don't think so. This is still relatively recent, but
we've just heard that Washington, Oregon, California, Vermont, and New Jersey, and I'm trying to think, maybe even like the District of Columbia, maybe they're all like challenging this as far as, no, this is a states' rights issue. And the thing is, in the FCC, okay, not the FCC ruling, there was in this verdict, they stated that it is a states' rights issue, which the FCC doesn't want it. Does not want this to be a states' rights issue. They want all the states to just fall in line with this. I mean,
and the states are like, no, fuck you.
The more liberal states that want net neutrality, they're the one that have contempt for what the FCC is trying to do. Also, the FCC has said that, from their statements, essentially, it is the free market's will for a company to be able to have conflicts of interest, to provide the pipeline, for a company to provide the pipeline, but also like own a service that another service that goes on that pipeline, and they can throttle everything else that isn't a part of their business, like that. Yes, that is what
with all due disrespect, fuck that. Like, fuck that noise. with all due disrespect, fuck that noise. No.
Yes, big time. Ajit Pai is a tool. This is like, yeah, free market. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Also, they've something that the FCC did. They also now usually agencies they kind of want to have as much power and authority as possible, so they're more important. They usually want to have more agency over things, right? Well, they actually pass the buck on certain things from the FCC. They gave it to the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. And funny thing about that is 75% of the 75% of FTC officials worked for corporations they're supposed to be regulating. So
Yeah, it's
and
bullshit.
also over 50%, I would say, are failing under a term that I've that's it's not just me, but it's called emoluments. There are companies that work there are people that work for the FTC that have investments in organizations they're regulating. If basically if you people that get jobs for the FTC right now,
They're
especially
lobbyists for Comcast and
yes,
Spectrum and
yeah,
Verizon and yeah.
they are planted there to not do anything to help the public, really. That is basically their job. They are the lobbyists in the government doing things on behalf of corporations. That is the swamp that was supposed to get drained. The swamp didn't get drained.
The
The
swamp
swamp is,
the swamp, if anything, got more
yes.
got
And
worse.
in particular, I remember like 10, maybe over 10 years ago, Elizabeth Warren, she had a very sharp tongued, like she really like hates that. And you could say the same for Bernie Sanders, but just I remember like in years ago, her specifically, like she said, like this is like the worst thing in government right now. Like like
Lobbyists
alarming what
holding
that.
positions in government. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's enough on the story. This is really important, and I think it's really screwy that all of a sudden
I just got to point
my,
out,
my
Nerd Nation has been covering this since 2015. Like, back in the original run of Nerd Nation, we've been covering FCC
Yeah.
shenanigans and net neutrality rulings and stuff like that. And it's something that we're all very passionate about here, and it is something that we will absolutely call bullshit when it happens. Yeah. So
it's kind of like this. Okay, so AT&T AT&T owns HBO. Okay, so if you were streaming something on your computer from like HBO Go or HBO Now, potentially they could throttle your Netflix, and then HBO would work just fine. That's kind of like what we're looking at. Like that could happen.
or they'll charge you for accessing your Netflix.
Netflix. Yeah, I mean there have been memed little mock-up things of, okay, you're gonna have like the social media tier of your internet, and then like you go up the ranks in your pricing tiers, and then you get YouTube and Netflix, and then at the very top it would just be like what you're used to already, and you'd be paying like a hefty premium just for the internet to just be normal as you're used to it. But that's why net neutrality is a big fucking deal. And
You'll have your information
we,
package, access to dictionary.com, thesaurus.com, Wikipedia, and stuff like that. Like, have an extra $10 just for that. And add at $10 for the internet entertainment package, access to like YouTube and Hulu, and charging you for stuff that already charges you and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, it's screwed up, and this is why we're huge proponents for net neutrality, and we really want to see.
Cheers to the states that
that said no.
Yes.
In the face of the FCC being like, "Yep, we're repealing net neutrality." Everybody good with this?
So, thumbs up to the West Coast and the Northeast.
Yeah.
You know, there you go. They are fighting for America's rights for free and open internet.
We're moving on to the Windows Surface event, Microsoft Windows Surface event, where Microsoft proves that they still don't know how to phone. With their new foldable Windows Surface Duo, which... Okay, so the whole foldable thing is kind of like still debatable and stuff like that, but Microsoft still proves that they don't know what's up with their new Surface Duo, which, while yes, it does fold out, there is no outside display to this device, first off. But that can be that is actually remedied, because it's a clamshell basically, but it's not one contiguous display inside like what we've seen from the Huawei Mate X and the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Instead, it's basically two separate tablets with hinged together. So yeah, there's no crease in the middle, thankfully, but instead you have an actual break in the display in the middle as a result. And so it folds shut like a laptop, basically. If you were going to put it in your pocket. This thing's fairly large, too. Let's see if I can find.
So what's like the appeal, I guess? Because it doesn't sound as cool.
It's two 5.6-inch displays that can expand into a 8.3-inch device when opened fully. But again, it's basically two tablets hinged together. And it can open both ways. So it is fully reversible, so you can open it fully out, so you would have an exterior display to work with. But this thing's basically the size of a netbook from the early 2000s. You know those small, like really small those really small laptops that they came out with in the early 2000s for like students and stuff to carry with them. It's basically one of those, but with two touchscreen displays.
Odd.
And it is like they've shown it, like you can use it in multiple configurations. Like you can put it like a laptop with the displays like this, and have one screen just be like a dedicated keyboard and stuff like that, if you want. And so like one screen would be the full keyboard, and the other screen would display what you're typing and doing and stuff like that. I'd imagine, though, if you were holding it in landscape mode with the two tablets, it would be a broken keyboard, though. Like, half the keyboard would be on one screen, half the keyboard would be on another screen. So I'm curious as to that, because they don't really show that, to be honest. So the interesting thing is, this thing is still over a year out, because it said that it wouldn't even be released until holiday 2020. And it is noting, though, that this isn't a Windows phone. Like, Microsoft is finally adopting Android. So this is a Android phone from Microsoft. And it's called the Surface Duo. And yeah, it's literally two 5.6-inch tablets with a hinge. And, like, again, this makes me just say, like, this just proves that Microsoft still doesn't know how to phone. All of the things I've seen, like, I haven't seen, like, the full device. But I do know like the front of the device when it's in clamshell mode, there's a black Windows icon. I haven't seen like the back of the pictures of the back of the device, so I'm not even sure if it has exterior cameras. So that's another thing where it's like I haven't seen enough of it to.
Right.
But considering it's still over a year out, this might actually still be in prototype stage. So, like, this might not even be the final device you would get in a year.
Mm-hmm.
But, and also, like, the pictures I'm seeing, like, of it, like, I've seen pictures of it, like, not completely folded and stuff like that. There's a gap between the displays. like if it's not fully folded, or fully expanded, like flat or what have you, there is a noticeable gap in the between the displays. And yes, it can go like I've seen it go in like tent mode where you set it up like this. So like say you want to watch YouTube or Netflix or something on it. Like, don't get me wrong, this would be a good device if you wanted to consume media and do some things, but I'm not sure how, like, who would want this? Like, this thing, first off, it's fairly large, somewhat bulky. Like, okay, let's be honest, all current gen foldables are rather bulky in size, but it's I'm not sure who this is for. Like, it's not what people expect when they think foldables nowadays, where it's one contiguous display. Like it's legit two different displays going on here. So like you can't do like for example with the Mate X and the Fold, there is no full screen where you're taking full advantage of. In this case, they're saying 8.3 inches when it's opened up. You can't take advantage of all 8.3 inches because again, there is a break in the displays going on here.
So does it show a full like? It looks like it's a full screen, except in the middle there's a break. Like it's your image is interrupted.
Like we haven't seen like any full screen things. There's like one thing that the only thing that they really show in like the demo video and stuff like that is like it looks like somebody reading Kindle, like a Kindle book or something on there where it's a page on each side and they swipe from one screen to the other to like turn the page. But like we haven't seen any like full screen utilization on any of the like the demo videos and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of stuff like there's one thing on one screen and another on another screen, but again, that's not really the point of having a foldable phone. The whole point of having a foldable display is that you have that contiguous display where if you want, you can have other things running and have like one big display to show off what you're mainly focusing on, like like a game or YouTube or Netflix or what have you. But the one advantage that this does have over current foldables is that it folds both ways, so you can fold it out so that the screens are on the outside, and you can fold it clamshell where the screens are on the inside. But if you do that, note that like there is no external screen. So I'm like you won't be seeing notifications on the outside. Like if you want to use this phone, you have to pull it out. You can't just do a quick check. You legitimately have to pull this thing out, open it up, and to check things out. Like again, and this is one of the reasons why I'm saying they don't know how to phone, because at least Samsung, which with their Fold, they have the full display on a full large display on the inside, but they still have have the smaller screen on the exterior of the Fold that you can interact with and like check your notifications and do some quick things and stuff like that. But if you want the full effect of it, you have to open it up and stuff like that. There is none of that because it's all there is no exterior display on this.
Right.
which
Makes sense.
it's silly. It is like I can imagine like there's probably like going to be a notification light or something that says like, hey, you have a notification, not unchecked notifications on your phone, but
Okay, is this phone, its features, is it going to benefit more media consumption, or is it going to help people actually use apps for communication? Like, which one do you think would?
I'd say it's more for media consumption and just for people who aren't going to use it for like game for mobile gaming and stuff like that. Like if you were doing like Stadia or something, you'd probably want a bigger screen to take advantage of, a contiguous display so that it's fully displayed. But but at the same time, actually, you can put this phone into tent mode and just have it set up, and then you're watching one screen out of the two screens that you got, and hey, at the very least, you don't need a phone stand anymore.
Very least.
Okay, moving on from that to one of the many Surface adaptations and laptops that they announced, one of which being the Surface Neo, which so we talked about some of these some interesting laptops at like from that came out of like Computex and other events this past year, where there's the main screen of the laptop, and then directly above the keyboard there's a second screen. Like we talked about the Lenovo Duo or Flex or whatever it's called, where it has two screens, like a smaller screen directly above the keyboard, and then the main screen. And this is their equivalent of this. So and also it's worth noting that a lot of these aren't going to be available until next year too. So it says it's equipped with dual 9-inch displays, but I don't know. It looks like maybe 9-inch wide, not corner to corner. I don't know, but yeah, it looks like. So you have. I call them chiclet keys. You know, the keys that you get from like Apple, and for a lot of the attachable keyboards for tablets, because they don't actually they don't have the tactile response of like even a regular keyboard compared to, or even a mechanical. Yeah, they're small, they're shallow, they don't really have much of a feel when you push them in. Even a regular membrane keyboard for a desktop has more tactile response than most most laptop keyboards, in my opinion. But yeah, so it has a shrunk down version of that, because it's a smaller laptop with, again, the picture that they have here showing it off is the top screen is like your desktop and stuff like that, and for some reason they have like the emoji drawer open on the second screen that's directly above the keyboard. So but I'm sure you could put other stuff there. Like, for instance, one of the things that was talked about at Computex and the Lenovo thing was like, if you're a streamer, for example, you could put like your Twitch chat or something on the second display, on the second smaller display, so you could have that scrolling along down there, so you could keep an eye on that while you're doing stuff on the main screen. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, this won't be available until 2020, holiday season 2020, so still roughly a year to a year and a couple months away.
You know what? Potentially, if you're used to the benefits of having two monitors, if those can like translate onto your phone the same way, that could be something. That could be something.
Okay, well, actually, okay, so Okay, so yeah, the Neo is okay. So the Surface Neo is so that keyboard that I'm seeing must be like a peripheral or something, because the other picture I'm seeing now of the Neo is it's a legit full two screen. It's basically the Duo's big brother, dual 9-inch displays. So it's 1.4 pounds. And so yeah, dual 4-inch displays, but it looks like for some reason they have a keyboard attached to it on this picture. But yes, the Neo is their full dual screen laptop, where it, yeah, but yeah, so the Neo is two full 9-inch touchscreens basically, and it does the 360 thing, same as the Duo. Like you can open it full all the way around, have been running in like tablet mode, or you could do tent mode, just like the I was talking about with the Duo for media consumption, or you could, I don't know, like hold it like a magazine or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah.
who are these devices for? I still don't understand like who needs that. But of course, I mean, Apple has like a super iPad, doesn't it? Like a 12-inch iPad. At one point,
You
the
probably
iPad
envision
Pro
it
or
being
something.
laid out flat or something on a table, or I don't know.
Well, no, because a lot of the things I see is like it in laptop mode, like one screen down here, one screen up here, and it's just like,
Mm.
I don't know. Like I can see it being useful for creative types. Like say like you have the we can use Twitch as another example. Like you have something going on the top screen and the bottom screen. You have like your Twitch chat and your Twitch dashboard or something like that going on, or like people who digital artists, for example, like can probably like do color correction and stuff like that, have like the one display displaying the whole image of what they're drawing. Meanwhile, on the bottom screen, like they can be zoomed in and do and airbrushing stuff and stuff like that, and they can look between the displays, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for most people, they're like, I just don't see why this is a thing or needs to be a thing, and it's like, I mean, again, it would probably be more leaning towards creators and creative types, like functionality wise. But generally, for the most part, like, what I don't know. I like.
I'll tell you,
You're not going to get the
phone-wise-
full functionality of like if you had two screens on a desktop. But even then, most people don't need two screens on a desktop either. It's mainly for people who do creative stuff, like streaming and recording and various other things, where it's useful having multiple displays so that you can have your, like, for an example, us as YouTubers and Twitchers, we could be running the game at full screen on one monitor while we have like our recording software or our streaming software on the other monitor, so that we don't have to run the game in Windows mode, so we can see both at the same time.
Well,
and
it
stuff
could
like
be
that.
too, I
But
guess, like if you're working and like people who not even just creative, but like with data, because I know like usually I do work on a desktop, but then I've had to like work on a laptop, and it's just it totally hinders like your how fast you can do things because you have to like switch to Windows. So I guess if I could have one somewhere, another one somewhere else, like it would be helpful. But for like normal quote unquote, stuff, it doesn't make sense.
like unless you're a content creator, or you need, or yeah, like I don't see general population doesn't need dual screens for the most part. I'll reiterate like my preference. Like if it was a contiguous display, I could see some like more of a benefit to it, because then you could go full screen. But again, it's the same. It has the exact same problem that the Duo has, where two distinctly separate displays. There is no doubt that they are separate displays that are non-contiguous, and it's like, I don't know.
When I look at tech like this, I always figure that there's going to be some price premium for some of these features they're trying to sell.
Oh,
And what I
absolutely,
like,
because
what I, what,
you're
what,
paying for two displays at
yeah,
this point.
I,
And it's
as a consumer, I personally just like classic form factors with, just better screens, better battery lives, better processors under the hood, and if the price is low enough, just who yeah, the people that they're selling these to, they're really not for me. Maybe they'd be more for one of you guys, but not for me.
so it is worth noting that the Surface Neo will be running on Windows OS, Windows 10X. So does that make it 1010? A new version of Microsoft's OS specially designed and optimized for dual screen devices. And Carmen Zlatev, sorry if I said your name wrong, Microsoft's program manager for experience and devices, has gone on to say it's a new expression of Windows 10 that we've been designing and building for the last couple of years with hundreds of engineers and designers at Microsoft. Our goal is to fuel a new era of mobile productivity and creativity across two screens. So again, even they themselves are admitting that these devices are mainly for productivity and creativity, meaning like content creators and people who would more benefit from it, and not generally for the general population.
It's kind of like when we were seeing like Apple, that last Apple conference where they had like the $1,000 monitor stand and stuff. They're trying to get people that would maybe buy that stuff, but I don't know. It seems pretty hard to get people that are entrenched in Apple to switch in the professional space. That seems pretty tough. And they're trying.
Okay, so next up we have the more traditional thing, something that you'd expect from a Surface event. Surface Laptop 3 is the third generation of Surface Laptop and comes in two sizes, 13.5 inches and 15 inches, starting at $999, and for the 13.5 and going to $1199 for the 15-inch one. And so both have a touchscreen display, as has become the norm for the Surface, and they have enhanced keyboards and trackpads, USB-C connections, and modular design. The specs have gotten an upgrade too. The Surface Laptop 3 features 10th gen quad-core 10nm Intel CPUs and the exclusive AMD Ryzen Surface Edition graphics chip. Which I've been seeing a lot of like, wow, they're putting they're putting AMD into a flagship product, because it's something that doesn't usually happen. So there's been a lot of people being like, there's been a lot of murmuring around just the fact that AMD is going to be in a flagship Windows product,
As far as the laptop form factor, that type of portable form factor, any sort of graphics solution other than Intel's integrated, it's pretty much always NVIDIA. So it's very rare that there would be like a if you're calling this a flagship product, for them to put an AMD graphics solution in there. But the thing is, with Navi, they got it down to like 7 nanometer right? They got their
Mm-hmm.
7 nanometer processors in there, so it is more energy efficient than ever, and I guess it's they're seeing it as a better solution than Nvidia, or maybe they just AMD cut a better deal than Nvidia did. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. AMD
Mm-hmm.
had a better deal than Nvidia. AMD had a better deal than.
And the last, well, actually no. Okay, so next up we have the Surface Pro X, which is a new 13-inch Windows tablet that runs on a special Microsoft custom version of the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, the SQ1 ARM chip. The Pro X has a 13-inch display, a new Surface Slim pen that can be stowed in a garage above the keyboard, and 2 USB-C connections. The Surface Pro X is available for pre-order now, starting at $999, and will ship next month. And this is actually also another big news that got a lot of murmuring, because Windows doesn't necessarily have the best integration with ARM processors, and they haven't for a long time. So it's actually very curious again to see a ARM chip in the same way that I was very curious to see AMD in a flagship product from, especially from Windows Microsoft. It's the same for this as well with ARM chips. So there's actually been quite a bit of murmuring going on around this event and what this could possibly mean moving forward with Windows, like better integration for ARM processors, maybe which means because right now, so you guys know what SBCs are, right? Like the whole Raspberry Pi thing. You guys know, at least know what Raspberry Pi is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the big problem with Raspberry Pi is that most single board computers don't have an Intel chip. They run off an ARM processor of some sort, which means, as it stands, they have to use a special type version of Windows, because and they can't run the full version of Windows due to limited integration with Microsoft Windows and ARM processors. That it's like basically ARM edition of Windows. So it's not a fully featured full version of Windows. So, but then this happened, and it has a lot of people wondering, like, are we getting full ARM integration into Windows, which means we'd be able to run the full Microsoft Windows 10 experience or whatever on
Okay.
an
On
ARM
something
chip?
like a Raspberry Pi.
Yes, because as it stands, like the only way you'd be able to do use full Windows 10 on a single board computer is if that SBC had an Intel processor, which is rare. Like there are SBCs out there that do have
Some
an
Pentium
Intel Atom chips, for example.
Atom, yeah. I think Atom is lower than Pentium in the pecking order there.
But they do. But I have seen 4-core Atom processors on SBCs. So, no hyper-threading, obviously, but four cores nonetheless, running at like 1.5 gigahertz and stuff like that.
I think about it nowadays, SKUs of Intel processors that are called like Atom, Celeron, and
But so there's a lot of people speculating now, like if they're putting an ARM chip on a flagship Windows product, does that mean we're going to see full ARM integration into Windows instead of it literally having its own separate operating system, basically a feature stripped version of Windows? So that's caused a lot of speculation. Okay, so moving on to the Surface Pro 7. The new Surface Pro 7 gets its annual makeover with new Intel Core Ice Lake processors, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and up to 1 terabyte of SSD capacity. It starts at $749 and is available for pre-order. And now we're going to talk quickly about the SQ1 ARM chip, which we just brought up for the Surface Pro X. And this is a custom designed and developed Qualcomm processor. And the new SQ1 chip offers dedicated circuitry and accelerated AI software, a major advance in computing technology for intensive tasks like recognizing speech and editing photos. Microsoft went on to emphasize the chip's efficiency, claiming that it delivered 3 times more performance per watt than the one used in the previous Surface Pro model. And finally, the last bit in this Microsoft stretch is everybody's doing it. Hell, even Amazon's doing it. Surface True Wireless earbuds.
Huh.
Wow, them too.
So in Microsoft's Microsoft is throwing their hat in the ring with the likes of Sony, Bose, Amazon, Google, Samsung, and everybody else who makes hardware these days, and trying to get a piece of Apple's AirPods pie. And I will admit, like, the earpiece, the part that goes in the ear, it actually kind of looks like an AirPods ripoff, like the shape and the design of it. But at the same time, I'm not sure what they were thinking, because the exterior part of this is like it's like having a silver dollar attached to your ear, like on the outside of your ear. It's like having a coin on the outside of your ear.
Yeah, you have like a coin, like one of those coin batteries. It's like your head is like you got like a battery sticking out of your freaking ear.
Now I imagine
That's
that
what it looks like.
Okay, so they didn't release too many details, but we know they'll be released in time for the holidays at a price of $249. Now, I imagine that those honking big discs that are going to be covering your ears are also going to be touch sensitive, as most true wireless earbuds are these days, which means you're going to be able to like swipe to next song and tap probably to communicate with whatever OS's assistant you're using. So there's probably variations of that as well on there. So since gesture control has become so common with these types of earbuds. And yeah, that does it for the Microsoft event this week. And there's a lot of interesting news, and there's a lot of speculation now going on because of what they announced, basically, especially when it comes to AMD and ARM.
You know, okay. You're describing these products, and they were so mundane to me, similar to like when I was covering like the Amazon show. A lot of they had there, I don't care about any of this stuff. But like when you do mention that you could have like full like Windows operating systems running on something kind of like a Raspberry Pi, that's really good. I mean, just how small a form factor those things are. As it stands right now, Raspberry Pis, they either run like Linux, or they run Like, is there some? You said that there's like some cut down version of Windows. That can work
It's ARM edition basically of Windows. Yeah, it's a cut down version. You can't run a lot of programs on it as a result. So like you can't run Steam on a ARM edition Windows 10, for example.
Yeah, that blows. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people would not or don't want to bother switching to other operating systems. They don't support their libraries of games that they've purchased on PC. That's one of the main reasons they would stick with those.
I mean,
Because
to
a
be
lot of
fair,
things-
it's gotten like we all used to make fun of Apple back in the day about how there's no games on Apple. They've gotten a lot better at that, but there's still like I'm sure if I were to log into my Steam library on an Apple, like probably half the games in my library wouldn't work on an Apple because they don't offer Apple compatibility. But it's
people that game on their Macs, they like dual boot into an install of Windows on their Macs.
they do.
Somehow. That's what they do.
But okay, so moving along from Microsoft to Volvo. Yeah, so we've been covering electric vehicles for a while now, and the latest one is Volvo Group's Polestar electric performance car sub-brand has announced pricing and details for the Polestar 2, which is the company's second production car and is a four-door mid-sized fastback that will begin production in 2020 and start shipping as early as next June. So, starting prices for this vehicle are going to be around $63,720 US dollars. And yeah.
Well, that's less than half the price of some of these like Porsches and Porsches.
Interestingly
and,
enough,
Teslas we
though,
mentioned.
Porsche has gotten a lot of interest in their electric vehicle, just purely based off branding alone, I'm sure. But so basically, this. Okay, so Polestar also previously communicated that its rough guide pricing for North America was at around $63,000. So this is consistent with. So rewind a little bit. These prices also include. So I said $63,720 US dollars. But that is a translation of the euro price, which is 58,800 euros. And it's worth noting that those prices include 3 years of service and maintenance, as well as European value-added tax, or VAT. So they also communicated that it's a rough guide for pricing for North America at 63,000. So keep that in mind. But the final actual price for American buyers will be revealed later on, because it is obviously going to launch over in Europe first and then eventually make its way over here. And it's a pretty competitive price in the electric performance sedan market, and especially against its main competitor, like the Model S and the Model 3. Though it's more competing with the Model 3. The Model S starts at $75,000 US. However, the Model 3 is a bit cheaper than that. The Polestar 2 packs a EPA range of about 275 miles to the charge. Meanwhile, the Model 3 starts at 240, but ranges up quickly to 310 to 325 miles, depending on battery options. It offers a 408 horsepower engine with a 300 kilowatt electric powertrain. Again, just short of the Model 3 when that's equipped with its dual motor performance configuration. Polestar also says that it'll do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. Again, short of the middle of the pack when you look at Model 3's full configuration lineup. So it's worth noting that... Okay, so apparently the Polestar 2 will initially launch at a higher price point with more affordable model variations coming later on, including a base model starting at around $45,000. So we have a list of... Okay. So these are the markets in which this is going to be available first. So these are the prices and as well as markets that will be available. So it'll be launching in Norway for 469,000 NOK, which is the Norway currency. Sweden for 659,000 SEK. Germany for... This is the price where it's going to be that I mentioned earlier, as Volvo is a German company. 58,800 euros. The UK for 49,900 British pounds. British. Anyway. It's going to be also launching in the Netherlands, also for euros, but 59,800. And Belgium also in euros for the same price as the Netherlands at 59,800. And it's also worth noting that the infotainment system will be based entirely on the Android OS and will have deep integration with Android Auto. So, yeah, so that... I mean, it's nice to have specs, in my opinion, but it's also like, I'm sure, Ed, you're the one who talked about the Porsche car, and here's the thing, how many that's the specs given of this device are actually... I guess it technically is a device. I was going to correct myself and say car, but it is a fully electronic device. Like, the specs are actually fairly similar to the Porsche. Let's be honest. And especially when it comes to the range, the Porsche range has the same range as this vehicle, and it's like, and it's significantly cheaper.
Yeah, I think like the 0 to 60 mark on the Porsche is closer to 3 seconds, and this one is like 5 seconds, but it's like less than half the price. So
that's Porsche tuning for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They make race cars and stuff, so they know how to tune an engine. And I'm sure, obviously, the interior of the Porsche would be higher quality and stuff, like the leather and all that type of stuff. But yeah, so it's still a rather significant premium for little difference, if you ask me.
Got that Porsche name.
Mm-hmm.
Porsche name.
So next up is PayPal is the first company to drop out of the Facebook-led Libra Association. So for those of you who are unaware, Facebook is launching its own cryptocurrency called Libra, and it announced earlier this year a association of basically people that would be accepting and utilizing Libra. It's 30 big names, including even MasterCard and Visa. Actually, you know what? Now that I look at this, Visa's not on here, just MasterCard. So PayPal would have been another payment processor that would be an American payment processor that would be accepting of this cryptocurrency, and PayPal just kind of noped out. PayPal has made the decision to forego further participation in the Libra Association at this time and to continue to focus on advancing our existing mission and business priorities as we strive to democratize access to financial services and underserved populations. This is a statement from PayPal to TechCrunch. And they continued on to say, we remain supportive of Libra's aspirations and look forward to continued dialogue on ways to work together in the future. Facebook has been a longstanding and valued strategic partner to PayPal, and we will continue to partner with and support Facebook in various capacities.
I think Facebook wants a cryptocurrency backed by them. For the
Actually,
sake
yeah,
of
Visa is here. I just glazed over it, I guess.
They want a cryptocurrency backing them, or they want to back it, vice versa, whatever. So they think people will buy into it because they have faith in Facebook.
Who has faith in Facebook?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm suggesting here. But there's a lot of people that use Facebook and reluctantly, I think, and people have to acknowledge that Facebook is integral to a lot of people's lives and businesses, and it's like Facebook isn't going away anytime soon. So I think that's part of the reason why they had an idea of like, oh, we could have a cryptocurrency, and it's like, Facebook is gonna be around a long time, just like this cryptocurrency. But the thing is, when I just say that out loud, like, I'm gonna buy into Libra because they're backed by Facebook and I have faith in Facebook.
I would just look at that person and being like, are we thinking about the same Facebook here?
Yeah, I'm saying these words out loud, and it's like, I would not want to use Libra if it's I would want to divest from Libra.
Well, there's a lot of back and forth controversy when this thing first started, because cryptocurrency, to a lot of people that don't understand it, isn't real. It's not tangible. So a lot of people don't see it as real money, real currency.
To be fair, most currency in the world isn't real. It's numbers on the screen.
No, it's not. But I mean, as far as credibility, say your dad or your uncle, they're not.
Cryptocurrency is equivalent to playing the stock market. Cards.
So if the people who are into cryptocurrency are saying that this is a good thing for cryptocurrency because it's what's going to make cryptocurrency popular, because all of these people like Visa, American Express, whoever is backing it. So it makes it more credible. It makes it more real. So it'll give more credibility to cryptocurrency. However, it's also now the exact opposite of the whole point of cryptocurrency, because now it is.
Well, we're all saying this about having faith in Facebook is the reason why, but it's worth noting that Facebook does not control the Libra organization or the currency, but gets a single vote alongside the remaining partners.
Right, so but that's the issue, is that's controlled by people in general. That's the opposite point of cryptocurrency. So that's why there's a back and forth.
At the very least, it's not like any one of these corporate companies has majority control. So one person, say MasterCard has more stake in Libra than Spotify, for example. And so they when they vote, they get more votes than Spotify. No, so how it works is that each one of these 30 corporations, 29 now, I guess, gets a single vote into how Libra is developed and utilized and stuff like that.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. It's monitored by somebody.
It's a corporate currency.
It really is.
A corporate currency. You think currencies are tied to a government? It's It's like some New World Order shit.
This is
What the
and
fuck?
it's worth noting that there's some international companies too. They're not all American companies. So I'm gonna go through the quick list.
Okay,
Of,
so Facebook, they're like celestial dragons. Is that what's One Piece reference?
yeah.
Never mind.
Eh.
Yes.
I understand the reference, but I'm like, not really.
Okay.
So I'm gonna list through the corporations real fast that make up the, I guess you could call it, the Libra Collective or whatever you want to call it. So we have Women's World Banking, Kiva, Booking Holdings, and Andreessen at Horowitz. Sounds like a law firm to me. Farfetch. Isn't that a Pokemon? Iliad. MasterCard. Uber. PayU. Mercado Pago. Coinbase, which is this is the big one right here. Pay very close attention to them because Coinbase deals in cryptocurrency. Like, these are the ones that would be legitimizing Libra currency when it launches, and most likely you'll be buying and selling Libra through Coinbase, because Coinbase is a cryptocurrency marketplace that buys, sells Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Cash, since a couple of them split, Ripple, all these other cryptocurrencies. You could that Coinbase is a cryptocurrency market. So that is the one corp company here that will give Libra the market it needs and the exposure that it needs to the cryptocurrency market. PayPal, but they're no longer involved. Bison Trails, Facebook Calibra, which is the division of Facebook that is helping this. So Facebook and Calibra, it looks like they're counted as a single organization. Zappo, Anchorage, Spotify, eBay, Breakthrough Initiatives, Stripe, Lyft, Visa, Thrive Capital, Ribbit Capital, Union Square Ventures, Vodafone, and Mercy Corps. And it is worth noting that Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg indicated that the company would be willing to delay the launch of the cryptocurrency, which is currently planned for 2020. In an interview with the Japanese Nikkei news service, move fast and break things won't get applied here. So, like, they want to make sure that this is done right and not just rushed out the door, you know. So they're trying to make sure that they get full capitalization when they finally do launch it, instead of it being a rushed thing and it just falling apart and once it gets pushed out the door. All right, and now I'm going to do a quick rant about Comcast because, okay,
Let's get juicy.
You guys remember a month and a half ago, whenever we did the story about the Internet Essentials from Comcast, right? The $10 internet service for low-income families and veterans and stuff like that. So one of our viewers actually applied for the service, and here's the gotcha, basically. So, you know that these services, they always charge a rental fee for like routers and TV boxes and stuff like that.
Right.
It's usually like $10 to $15 max to rent a router, especially like you would think maybe even $5 for a low end router, considering $5 a month for a low end router, considering the low speeds that the internet Internet Essentials bundle is.
Yeah.
It's only like 15 megs a second. They're charging $30 for router rentals a month. So that $10 a month internet, boom, that's $42
Now,
so
if you were to buy your own
then
modem and router,
then it's $10 a month.
yeah, so you would need to buy your own hardware, and then you'd be getting the $10 service.
Yes.
So there's how you avoid the catch-22. But the thing is, people that would be paying for this internet
wouldn't be able to afford $100-some router. Like,
yeah. But
that is the gotcha. That's what pisses me off, because it's one of our viewers on our recommendation that went to Comcast, and that because we talked about this story on our channel, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, legit.
Too good to be true.
Like,
it's a flim-flam.
on 1,000%, especially since, as I was just saying, like, on most of their services, even if it's a Comcast service, it like, if you're paying for like the 100 meg speeds, 200 meg speeds, it's like what, $10-15 at most for a router. And then they're like, oh well, we're only getting $10 a month from these guys. We need more to cover we need more we need more money from these people, despite the fact that they're low income families and shit like that, who obviously can't afford regular internet as it is. So like, we're just gonna suck them dry, like get as much money as we can from them before they cancel the service because they can't afford it anymore.
Right.
Or, I mean, it could also be a preventative measure, because while I highly doubt people taking this service would turn around and sell their router for money, like, I bet that I'm betting that somebody has done it or would do it, like, if they're desperate enough. But at the same time, like, they wouldn't be losing that much by giving them a cheap router. That's honestly not worth too much.
I think people can still take advantage of the service, but you would need to buy your own hardware, and instead of paying what you said, $40.
I believe.
For the rental.
I believe they said that total with tax and everything was like $44 total.
Okay.
A month.
A month for everything, right?
For a service that's supposed to be $10 a month.
Yeah. Okay. If you just were to I think for 50 to $80 you can get a modem and a router. They don't have to be the best, and it's still probably going to be better than the stock shit coming from them is going to be. So it's like you would just need to get your own hardware. That's all there is to it.
But here's the thing, though. Like, he went there for this service and stuff like that, and they're like, oh well, for $5 more, you can get one of our actual services. Like,
so they try to upsell and be like, instead of this program which you seem like you need, you could just get a normal service for $5 more.
For $5 more, so for like $50.
They cannot be doing this everywhere. This place is just like blatantly just fucking over the whole policy. Like, what this whole program in this specific place, they're fucking. Or if they're doing this everywhere, because the funny thing about, and I say funny, it's not really funny, but the funny thing about internet services, depending on where you live, they'll charge you whatever the hell based off of where you live, whatever the market.
He lives in Seattle, so I mean, it's.
I just know you could be paying like more for shittier internet someplace,
but this is This had me livid when he first told me about it, and it like I was calling bullshit. I was like, this is so much fucking bullshit. Like I apologized and stuff to him, and it was like, I told him like, this is so much fucking bullshit because I know for a fact that they don't charge that much for router rentals usually. Like, so just the mere fact that they're doing that they're gouging people like this who legitimately like need, like. Ooh.
Considering that you can just buy a router and a modem for, I was saying like 58, yeah, for like $50. $50 and they're charging you $30 or more to rent per month. That doesn't make any fucking sense for that lease.
And then so again, like the price comes up to like $43-$44, and then they try to upsell you and are like, well, for like $5 a month, for $50 a month, you can get one of our real internet services. And then when he ended up actually taking that too. Like the upsell kind of worked on that, and it was like, ugh, like. This is not right. This is straight up not right. This is Comcast
bait and switch.
Right.
This is royally fucked up. And especially if this isn't an isolated incident, like this is legitimately not morally right. Like you're offering this cheap internet service to get people who are unable to afford your normal package, and then you're charging them the price of a normal package by gouging the fuck out of them with router rentals that go above and beyond what you'd normally charge people for router rentals. Like, if it was like, heck, even if it was just $10 a month, $20 a month for internet would be more reasonable than this. Like this is legit. Just why even bother advertising you're doing a good service when you're full of shit and you know you're full of shit?
Yeah, that's rough.
Like we gave coverage to this. They're just the same way other people gave coverage to this because we thought, oh hey, Comcast finally grew, their heart grew a couple centimeters or millimeters, like that they were actually gonna help people, and then now we hear about this and it's just like, fuck you, just straight up fuck you. This is not cool. This is morally bankrupt, and it is just plain not right. I'm done. If you guys want to add anything to this.
I think you covered it. Like, it's tough.
People that would, I'm picturing like senior citizens that don't know, like they don't know what's up at all. Like them being over a barrel on this to getting tricked like this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the program is available to low-income veterans, the elderly, and people and families who have who are receiving welfare, SNAP benefit, food stamps, with children who qualify for lunch assistance at schools and stuff like that. But low income families and stuff like that, and yeah, they're 1000% taking advantage of people in this regard, especially if they don't know like prices and stuff like that, like off the top of their heads. Like when he told me that, I straight up told him that's bullshit. Their router fees are $10 to $15 at most, and like. If you don't know somebody that knows stuff like that, though, like you won't be prepared for when they're like, oh, it's $30 router fee. Like you might think, oh well, I guess okay, maybe, uh,
The
or they'll sell you on the upsell like they did, like they did with the person in question here.
the typical price for a monthly lease on these modems and routers, or the two-in-ones we're talking about here,
Hmm.
typically the monthly price would be more or less 1/12 of what the price of, like, if you just got it new, right? So it would kind of be like over the course of a year, or maybe even, you know 18 months, if you were to add up all those monthly fees, it'd be about the same price as what the product would be if you just bought it outright. Okay.
Hmm.
And then if you hang on to that modem that you've been leasing past that point, their Comcast, your cable company, is just making money on that. Like, you could just hang on to that and not get it switched out or changed for years, and your cable company is just raking it in on you, still leasing that over and over again with no upgrade. With the only little advantage is if something goes wrong with it, you could get a technician come out and they could swap it out, right? Like that's kind of what you're kind of paying for. But what you're describing, what we're talking about, this is beyond the pale, just taking advantage of people and what overcharging for something.